I think once I finally realized what it meant to enjoy being alone, my whole perspective shifted on the term soulmate. Because when God has an assignment for you, you don't always see it, you're not always willing to do the work, you don't always understand. But one thing about God is that He's going to make sure you schedule time to understand the assignment. And He does that because we don't. We don't take the time to sit in our thoughts. We don't take enough time to understand what it really means to be still. And so, because of that, we put band aids on everything. We put band aids on the wounds that we're afraid of. And these band aids look like people. One of my amazing friends and client, Jodi-Kay, told me that. And it was something I thought I knew, and it was something I thought I understood. But when I was sitting with my thoughts and being still, is actually when I took the time to make time for someone to pour into me. And often I'm feeling drained. It's not a bad thing, but I pour into a lot of people as a mentor, as a coach, as a content creator. You do too, in your own different ways. So certain things drain us. And a lot of times we put a band aid on that wound instead of sitting with it and asking God, why does this hurt? And something about love, something about finding your soulmate, this idea that was put into us at a very young, probably too young age, right? Whether it was with what we watched as kids or listened to, and that's why you have to be so careful with what you consume still as an adult, that doesn't change. You see how the things that affected us as a child, even though that's in our past, it's still very much a part of our future. And if we don't sit with our thoughts, if we don't understand the power we have when we're not giving our power to other people, we'll never be able to use that power for ourselves. We're always going to give things power. And that's one of the main and probably only reasons, if you understand when you read the Bible, that you're not to give anything or anyone power. But why do we have all of these idols? Why do we have all of these band-aids? Why do we go to people for love? Why don't we look to ourselves for love first? Why do we go places that make us feel unsettled the next day or uncomfortable? Why do we frequent bars as a way to escape? Why can't we escape within ourselves? And these are thoughts I have when I am sitting with my thoughts. And it just so happened that as I'm recording this, I'm pacing around my room on the very same day that Jessica Reedy said what she said to me, and on the very same day that God rescheduled something in my life, which I thought was an inconvenience, but really He was making sure I understood the assignment. He was making sure that I was sitting still to receive clarity from a good friend. He was making sure that I was sitting still to record what I'm recording right now so I can get my word out to more people on why it's important that you sit with your thoughts, why it's important that you don't put a band aid on the wound, why it's important to get comfortable being still. And it's in moments like this where I'm alone that I learn how to fall more and more in love with myself and who I am. And I know that's only because I've given myself time to fall more and more in love with God and build and strengthen that connection in times like these when we're still. There's a lot of answers for us there because when I'm still, I want to make sure I feel good. Generally, it's phones down or I use it intentionally. Generally, I'm lighting a candle or I have some incense burning. Sometimes I'm sitting, listening to music. I have this little star projector thing, like I'm 12, but I love it. And I'll turn it on and I'll look up at my ceiling. And sometimes I'm watching TV. I love anime. It's so funny because when you know me and you see me, and I really am like A-type personality, like structured and rules, and like it's okay to break the rules for creativity though, because I'm also a super creative person. Like go with the flow and do what you feel. So it's like so much polarity lives within me. But I also like murder documentaries. So anime or murder documentaries, there's a huge in between there. But when I'm having moments like these and I'm sitting still, I'm like, wow, I really, really love who I am. I really, really enjoy that I'm able to set the vibe for myself, right? I enjoy that I'm able to rest when I'm tired, have no rules. It's days like these when I'm sitting in my thoughts. I'm sitting with my thoughts. I'm sitting with God. I'm sitting with myself. I'm learning myself through God. And I am able to shine my light a little bit brighter because I take all of that knowledge that comes from even just one night in, if it's intentional. I wish I could tell you that this happens every week. It does not. It really does not. It's a moment that I'm realizing even as I'm recording this, I have never scheduled. I'm having an epiphany right now. I've never scheduled. If these nights are so great for me to have such amazing ideas and I execute like I'm recording this episode right now, and I'm so at peace and I'm so in flow, and that's everything that I, have talked about on Lima's New Hustles, my other podcast, and just the content I've been putting out since 2017. If I know that these moments bring so much momentum for me, so much happiness, that's more momentum that I get than when I'm going out to endless networking events and trying to pour into so many different people, or I am giving my time and energy being with a client for a couple days or a week as a life coach, as a mentor, just helping them build that structure habits, right? Like so much of my work, and I'm using my brain for marketing strategy, so much of my work requires that I'm selfless, that I give so much of myself. And I think as entrepreneurs and creators and CEOs and just souls, we forget that in finding ourselves first, that's really how we're going to be able to find the person that's right for us. And that's when everything I understood about soulmates became super clear. And so I can set this boundary now that's going to help me probably maybe leave this single girl era. Who knows? But instead of being sad about it, or even instead of thinking, for me, it's like I get super sad around the holidays. My birthday is like literally in 2 days. And here I am having this epiphany, life awakening moment. I'm like, is this going to be the first episode? Is it like, do I just drop this? What is it called? I have no plan, right? That's A type. But then the flow type is like, girl, just hit record. Just hit record and figure it out later. Done is better than perfect. All that. And now I just went on a huge tangent, but the ultimate soulmate is really yourself. Like when you learn that you are going to be with yourself forever, you stop running away, and you don't always have to be sad, right? You don't, today's in particular, I was sad, and okay, I know you know these, so let me just go ahead and tell you, like, I have, I have my birthday in a couple of days. I have this amazing creative directed idea. I'm also a creative director, and just everything was working out at first, where it was just like God brought me the people. And even it was just like it was also a gift. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna get an Airbnb with this. Thank you so much. And then even just the idea was just like, wow, I've been wanting to do this. Like I always do this in my car in my head, So maybe by the time I drop this, I will have already done it. But it basically just like a little choreography idea, fun idea with some really amazing people, some new friends that I just met, which is actually really cool. They met me like when I was first in Dallas at speaking at an event, the Melanin Manny Festival. And I met her other friends first, and they brought me back to her because I was just honest. I was like, you know what I really am looking for? I'm looking for some really good friends in Dallas. I'm looking for my friend group. And one of the girls was like, I got you, girl. I'm going to introduce you to my good friend here who was also at the event. And then we just kind of like spent the weekend going out and doing these amazing things together, and having so much fun. And all to say, none of that was a band-aid. It was just also just the idea of being able to sit with myself in that pain of sometimes feeling lonely, where I could bring that loneliness to God and ask for something different. I also sit in gratitude, but it's different when you can just be honest with yourself because you know yourself, right? So you can be honest with God and what you want. I do believe in the power of manifestation. Just that's really the power that you have within you. Thoughts become things. Where are those thoughts coming from? We're hoping for everyone's good health and wealth, that those thoughts are coming from God, right? And so that's a whole nother topic for a whole different day. But you're hoping that when you're choosing love in your responses over fear, and that ultimate form of love is coming from God and being poured into you if you let it, if you stop running from it, if you allow yourself to heal, if you allow gifts that God puts in your life to heal you versus just you doing what you think you want and you doing what feels good and ignoring all of the real thoughts, your intuition, they're telling you those things aren't good for you and putting band-aids over that, right? So where are you losing yourself in people because you've lost yourself? And if you're not making that connection between the more love you allow into your life, right, you're going to be able to create the life you want. You're going to be able to understand what your next steps are and the things that you have to do. But the band-aids are the distractions, right? And the same way that God puts people in our lives for a lesson or a blessing is the same way that it becomes easier for you to identify the lessons, and it becomes easier for you to accept the people that you should have in your life, right? If you're not putting all the wrong people in your life because you're actually distracted and you're not able to utilize, I'm going to say it, it might be taboo, utilize your resources and utilize relationships that you are building, you may miss your blessing. You may miss your blessing. So this is so deep. I could go deeper. I feel like I could take this a million different ways, but the biggest takeaway here, of course, is that you miss out on all of that if you're always too busy for yourself, if you're always too busy for God. You miss out on understanding how to navigate in this very complex world, this very confusing world. You get lost in people's thoughts and ideas, and you start to validate other people's thoughts and opinions of you, yes, family included, over your own, over what you need. Like you need space, right? You need to set better boundaries, but you don't because you think that allowing that bullshit, allowing those behaviors to continue on because whatever your trauma is, dear, whatever that looks like for you because you're too nice or you don't want to speak up or you speak up maybe, I don't want to say too much, that's the opposite, but maybe you're not able to deliver your message in a way that is loving, that people actually understand. It goes all which ways depending on what happened to you when you were a child. It depends on what thoughts and behaviors your soul absorbed as a child. And you grow and you go through these different seasons of life where, while for some people our soul evolves and grows with us, for some, theirs got lost, so lost that it didn't grow, it didn't evolve. And when you're really finding yourself, I believe that you're finding a part of you that's missing. You're finding a part of your soul that's missing. And the only way to put it back inside you, God's going to give it back to you. But if you're not ready, if you're not able to create a life or put structure and put some blessings on your own life first, you won't be able to hold on to that soul. You won't be able to hold on to what you need to hold on to. You won't be able to do what you need to do with that soul. So besides this just being how I talk to myself often when I'm by myself and when I'm tapped into myself, not tapped into worldly possessions or things, people, when I am sitting with myself, when I'm sitting with my thoughts and I'm allowing myself to be still in my stillness, so much clarity comes to me. My knowledge, I feel like, is like 10 times amplified, and of course, if you are super close to me, if you are one of my most valued and appreciated, respected friend, you already know we have dope ass conversations like this all the time. But I was wondering, I was like, what does that look like for me to shine my light a little bit more? What does that look like to let people into my brain a little bit more? And I've been thinking about it forever. I've been like, okay, I've done podcasts. I've had a podcast chart, I think top 20 years and years and years and years ago. 10, 20, do they even do that? And I was like, yeah, 20 was cool. I remember my little trauma around it. I was like, okay, 10 would be better. But, I was like, girl, I'm not saying you don't deserve top 10, but have you done top 10 things? Have you been embracing top 10 behavior? So this goes so far back for me where the only reason I have exactly what I have right now, the only reason I'm in the position I'm in right now, the only reason I have a portion of my dream life right now is because I understood what it meant to accept God's love in my life. So I could learn to love myself a little bit more. From there, I could go out into the world and start to attract the right types of people. I learned how to stop putting band-aids on the wound. I learned that when I'm wounded, I wound others. I learned that if I wanted to heal the world, I had to heal myself. And a lot of us entrepreneurs out there, we have a mission, we have a message, and my thing is I help y'all learn how to get seen and get paid with that's mission and message, but I always add a lot of my soul into that. This is soul's work at this point. I add a lot of this type of thought process into my work. It's never just business coaching with me. I'm never just writing your marketing strategy. It's like so much more. And so I have to take care of that. I have to take care of the soul that God put into my body. I have to take care of the gift. And that's how I keep the momentum going. I don't keep the momentum going by having all of these band-aids all over the place, by having all of these false idols all over the place. I don't gain momentum that's sustainable, I should say, because sometimes it feels like this fast life, the industry, if you're in the industry, like if you just hear my words and I'm saying the industry and you cringe a little bit, And so it's all about fulfilling your mission, yes, but doing it from a place of love, not fear. You're not using people. It's a little controversial. I said it a little bit earlier. You're not using them in a bad way. You're using them because you see the potential in them, right? You're using them to build more momentum with you, if that makes sense. So for this, maybe I'm not explaining it the right way, but it sounds like this. Hey, we connect. I have no ego. I have experienced ego death. And so you shining your light does not affect me at all because I know I'm in my lane and I'm going to shine my light. So I don't have weird energy about it. You tell me what you do. Even if we do the same thing similarly, I hope you do it better than me because look, I want to know what you got to know. I want to know what you got to know to reach your fullest potential because I see something in you that I want a little fair exchange of a little soul right here, right? Because there's a lot of people that don't understand that when you go out here and you just shake, you can't break bread with everyone. And when you're shaking all these different hands and you're exchanging little bits of your soul with people, that's also how you lose your soul. There's some people that really just quite literally take and take and take and take and take. So when you are the kind of person who you see the potential that other people have, and you know that you can help them be a little bit more powerful, but then also like they can probably, hopefully you don't want to. So you're not a charity case. There's definitely a time to give and there's definitely a time to take, but you also are able to shine your light a little bit brighter with them. And so that's how I like to think about my friendships and the people that I keep close to me. They they earned, and it sounds a little funny to say it this way, they earned their right into my life, not because it was a exchange always, right? Maybe because there was some type of connection. Maybe it wasn't business at all. It wasn't going to help me advance in my business at all, but maybe it's going to help me improve a skill or something else that's going to improve the quality of my life, and then vice versa. It's really like it's what you see in them, they see in you. So you ever wonder like why some of those people you meet, you just click and you're like, wait, what? Are you me? Like you're me? That is crazy. And you guys you connect. You have a soul connection and it's pure and it's long lasting and it's unbreakable. But if you ever notice and you think back to, you've got a couple friends, you've got a couple of family members, you've got a couple acquaintances where something's a little bit off, but you're making excuses, you're putting band-aids on it because maybe this person, they do a little something, something for you, and maybe you do a little something, something for them, but whatever that is, it's like the little something, something, you're losing a little bit of something, something, your soul. So you have to really think about it. Is it worth it? And when you put yourself last because you don't want to be mean or you don't want to hurt their feelings, you don't want to speak up, or you put yourself last because maybe that person can't hear your message because you're just not able to communicate in a way that's beneficial for both of you to understand. Start to see that you can't possibly set better boundaries for yourself. You can't possibly understand what you want and what's good for you, what you should leave if you aren't sitting with your thoughts, if you aren't sitting in your stillness, if you aren't understanding that God has a message for you and he's been trying to tell you something, but you have been stubborn and you have not listened. And because you don't really know yourself, you're kind of running away from it. It's uncomfortable. There's something maybe a little too dark in you. There's something that happened to you that you don't want to go back to. It's just a little too painful and you're avoiding it. And in avoiding it, you find that there's lack, right? And you start to feel like that lack, that thing that's missing from your life, that anything and anyone, but God, can make you feel better short term. And that's like blasphemy to me. That I had to realize that about myself. It's like I can't claim that I love God, but I don't understand these things about life. Like that's the other thing that I'm really, really wanting more people to do is, yeah, don't be afraid of yourself, but also don't be afraid to quite literally come up with your own base understanding. Don't just like listen to this podcast and be like, oh my gosh, like, please, I do want you to be like, oh my gosh, did you listen to Jodi's podcast? It's so good. But like, I want you to take your own understanding from this wisdom that I'm passing through to you. I don't want you to copy. I don't want you to even like, I mean, you can pull inspiration from it if that's your thing, but I think it'd be awesome if you could understand it on a deeper level that maybe it inspires you to sit still more. So you don't just listen to it and think it's nice. You implement, you execute. And that's really how this podcast is going to be effective if you're listening to it and you maybe help God out from time to time with scheduling a little bit more time for you to sit with yourself. Don't wait until God sits you down. Don't wait until God schedules time for you to be with yourself because it pretty much feels like it's always inconvenient, doesn't it? It pretty much feels like it's always like, why God? Like, why now? Like why are you doing this? And we start to doubt our natural instinct that says you're tired, rest, that says, hey, something's wrong, something's a little off here, right? We start to doubt who we really are and how powerful we really are, and it's a sick cycle. I don't want to sound like a broken record here because I just spoke about that, but I want you to see how this is all interconnected, like all interrelated. I don't know, it's like a word like interstellar. I think that's a movie, but it just all starts with you, right? It all starts with you making a decision. Am I going to live in the flesh or am I going to live in my soul, live in the spirit? Probably already tried living in the flesh because after childhood, you got a little confused about who you were because the world, unfortunately, told you who you should be. And it kind of put us on this path, right? Do you remember that? It put us on this crazy cycle where we were just doing things that didn't feel good. And we were having thoughts that became harder and harder to control. We were having thoughts maybe that weren't always ours. And we were having moments where we didn't recognize ourselves. We were having, remember that? Yeah. And those days were hard. And we hope that those days are behind us. But the thing is, if we aren't making time to do the homework, we aren't putting in the work, we aren't making time to do what we know is right, to follow our intuition. Our intuition is literally just little whispers from God, is how I think about it. And whenever I say like God or the universe, like I have to be very clear here because I know depending on what you're listening to or whom, it might feel confusing, but there's nothing confusing for me over here. There's God, and the universe is a manifestation of God's thoughts. And if you're connected to yourself and you can be grounded and be still, grounded, like imagine that, like the earth is so rich and it feels so good, like sand between your toes, right? There's so many songs about that. There's so many different healing properties out there, right? Nature's medicine and just how God quite literally put all of the plants and all of the things that we need to cohabit this earth with us. And we have gotten lost in thinking that it's going to come from big pharma and we just got confused. That's just one example. There's so many more. If you have any and you want to send me any of your thoughts on this, I would love to continue the conversation. And right now I have a channel called the CEO Chit Chat over on my Instagram. Just go to my Instagram, Jodi-Kay Edwards, and you'll see the CEO Chit Chat. And it's pretty cool. We're at like 100 members, 115 right now. And I love it. I just kind of like chit chat with you guys on different perspectives in life. And, I try to keep it short, like short and impactful, like 1 minute, maybe 4 minutes. If I'm really passionate about the topic, you maybe will get 5 to 10 1 minute voice notes, either or. 10 minutes can really change your whole life if you sit and make time to be with your thoughts, if you sit in your stillness. And we don't always want to make time for the things that we should make time for. But if that feels right to you, I'd love to see you there. I'd love to see you over in the CEO Chit Chat, my free Instagram broadcast channel. But yes, that is why I believe that your first soulmate is obviously God. Quite literally gave you life, gave you, I guess, all you know. And so it's okay. Sometimes we lose it because we live in the flesh, not spirit. Fingers. And then we kind of, get hurt and shit, and we like think other things can heal us and other people, and we just kind of like, God's just looking down at us, not like looking down at us, like not like that, but just, the guy's up there and he's just waiting for you to come to him. And meanwhile, like you can either be angry on earth and be like, oh my gosh, like why is everything happening to me, or like, try to abandon yourself or abandon your father. You can do all that, or you could sit with yourself and figure that shit out. You could really actually take the time to get your life together. Okay, that is all. I'm going to continue with my evening. It is 9:16 right now on a Sunday, and it's September 29th. This is like my little video diary. But I just want to say, last thing, keep shining your light. Don't let anyone dim it. And that's actually a little slogan I came up with when I first started my first business, Alignment is a New Hustle, back in like 2017. And look at all the different ways that I kind of avoided doing something like this because I just have a little Instagram, not Instagram, I have a little mic that I got off of TikTok shop, I think, and my phone. And a big reason why I stopped doing this and didn't listen to my intuition, didn't listen to that little voice saying like, get back onto podcasting, get back into it, was because I was just, another message I got from a friend when I took the time to be still, even while I was driving, but it was like sometimes I listen to music or like something on YouTube or a podcast, and this time I was like, no, I'm just gonna sit here in silence, and then I was like, oh, call Jamie, Jamie, my girl, if you're listening to this, yes, it's just a couple days ago, and she told me exactly what I'm about to say right now. She told me this about myself, and I love that. She's another new friend, which is just amazing, amazing, amazing. When I say new, you guys, it's either like pretty much everyone I've mentioned so far has been in my life for like, we'll just say like less than a year, but for sure like some are like less than a week, and some are less than like 6 months, I would say. And, some of these are conversations I've already had with like my bestest of friends, like friends that I've known for 10 plus years. Of course, I like have to mention them too. And friends that I've known for, 5 years, 3 years. And all of our beautiful moments are when we make time for each other to like really connect, right? So yeah. Jamie said it's just a lot of times we put too much thought into it having to look a certain way and look perfect, and I thought I was over that, but she taught me, it's like, yeah, like you're not doing this because you have to sit down on your computer and then you have to put on something nice or something on brand. Like you guys, I'm not wearing pants right now. I am in my tan bonnet, the tan bonnet that you can get on my Amazon shop, but that you always see me wearing in my Instagram stories. I'm wearing a Dallas Startup Week shirt from like 4 years ago, and I'm pacing my room. My room is filthy. It's so dirty. Like the conditions are not perfect, but I feel like I really like this. I feel like I really, 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 really love what just came out of me. And no, I do not have any children, so it's just like I get to spend my time doing this, and it's okay, right? It's okay that I'm not on like the family path or tracked or whatever. It's okay that I'm single. It's okay that I'm gonna birth like a podcast or two or five before I birth a child. It's okay. Usually being okay with that, not just being like, it's okay, everything's fine. Just like really being at peace with myself and how powerful I can become and understanding how powerful I already am if I invest it with myself in my thoughts and sit in my stillness. So I for real am going to enjoy the rest of my evening. This show awaits. The train that comes by Mikasa is telling me it's time to leave. But please keep shining your light. I hope you have a better understanding of what I mean and have meant for years since I've been saying that from my other podcast as well. And I'm just happy that I was able to hopefully clearly articulate it in a way that makes you want to give a damn, ma'am or sir. And if you do, please hit whatever you need to hit that you can, whatever platform you're using, hit that button or link or thing that helps us stay tapped in. Because, if your soul is cool and my soul is cool, like we can do a little soul tango. It'll be great. We can offer some sort of beautiful value in each other's lives. And I definitely want to chit chat with you over in the CEO Chit Chat broadcast channel, but also connect with me for real. Don't ever be afraid to like send me a DM on Instagram, but just understand it gives me anxiety, not because it's you, but I'm saying personally, it's because I get overstimulated a lot. And social media overstimulates me, so I like to be on it, but I'm on it. It looks like I'm on it a lot because I'm like consistent in this business thing, but actually like I'm not much of a scroller and I don't check my DMs often, but I'm going to start being more intentional because I think when these conversations that I'm allowing myself to have with beautiful people like you are not draining and I can use my boundaries and not worry about being too nice. See, this is something that maybe you had to hear too. I don't want to be afraid to like open that up and open up room for conversation. But just know either or, like whether you're my best friend or your new friend, I still suck at texting and feel free to tell me about myself. Okay, goodbye.